All right. I think we're live. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Conscious Together live stream 8. We hope that you are well today and looking forward to our discussion on mindfulness and reflective practices and how they can help us with the very real, very functional aspects of our life. So welcoming, as always, my good colleagues, Avanti and Oliver. Thank you for joining us today for this discussion. And today's focus is a following on a continuation of last week's theme of the mindful magic wand. And last week we discussed, was mindfulness a magic wand? And we had a healthy discussion around that. And we didn't all agree, which was fantastic. Although I think we persuaded each other to an extent by our respective arguments. So there you go. So if you haven't seen that, please feel free to check it out. But today, the focus is going to be more on our relationships, our personal relationships and our professional relationships, because relationships with each other are at the heart of our human experience, and they have a profound and deep impact on our felt experience in our lives. And when our relationships aren't healthy, it's not good for us, and it's not good for the people that we are in a relationship with. And that applies equally to a professional or a personal relationship. So being able to nourish the key relationships in our lives and apply a discerning lens, the appropriate level of scrutiny to our behaviors and to the behaviors of others, and apply those through a mindful lens, I believe is incredibly helpful and in fact almost critical. So this is a quick introduction to my opinion on this, but I'll expound more on it in a little bit, and we'll see if we have different opinions. But we're going to explore this topic and how a mindful lens really could have a very transformative effect on some of the key relationships in your life. So there you go. And as always, we're going to do some practices. So we're going to start in a moment's time with a little grounding practice, perhaps just to bring us into the moment, ready for this discussion. And then we'll break into the conversation and we'll see where it takes us. About halfway through our session, we will break for another practice, and then we'll continue the debate and hopefully keep sharing and exploring some of these concepts and ideas. So, Oliver, Avanti, have I missed anything in my preamble?
You did great.
It's spot on, Lauren. I can't to get on with the conversation. But yes, I think we need the grounding too. So
let's ground.
Handing it back to you. Yes.
Let's ground. All right, everybody. So if you want to join us in this practice, as always, please do, but you do not have to. So adopt a position, an upright and dignified position, if that works for you. So sitting perhaps a little bit taller in your chair. If you wish to lie down instead, that's perfectly acceptable. If you need to listen to the particular needs of your body, then again, please do so. So don't do anything that doesn't feel comfortable and appropriate for your circumstances. And if you're happy to, just let the eyes gently close. And simply put yourself, your experience, your awareness, your attention into the soles of the feet. If you're sitting, just let the sensation of the feet gently resting on the floor come to awareness. If your feet are elevated, perhaps there's nothing pressing against them, but just rest with the felt sensation that's present regardless. And take some time to explore the sensations that are present in your feet right now. sensations in the soles of the feet, experience of the toes, the heel, the arches, the top of the foot. Connecting, if possible, from the inside out. Experiencing within the foot and connecting with the raw experience there. And now breathe gently into this space. So as you breathe in through the nose, just get a sense of that experience moving all the way down to the feet. Breathing with the feet. Connected, grounded to the earth, anchoring us to the present moment, to something solid in the seeming busyness of our lives. And just rest here for a few more moments before we bring this little introductory practice to a close. Sitting with the feet, with the breath, comfortably resting. And when you're ready, just gently opening the eyes and bringing yourself back to this space that we're in. Take a moment to stretch if you need to, have a drink of water if you need to, and maybe do a quick reflection on how that experience was, how that practice felt, how the mind is now. Just see what you notice, just see what's true for you. Thank you. So,
Thank you, Lorian.
Thank you, Lauren.
you're very welcome.
I think this is one of the best, if not the best.
What, the grounding?
But yeah, for grounding.
Yeah, it's really helpful, isn't it? It's super helpful grounding.
Yeah,
And
even sometimes you're leading a, as a mindfulness teacher, as you're leading one. I think I felt more truer, the sensations at the soul in the feet. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's not to be overlooked, is it? It's such a simple thing, and I think we're getting off topic. Hang on, let's we're going to talk about relationships, but we're always looking for a secret, aren't we? We're always sold these things, right? It's the mantra of the coach, right? I'm going to sell you these secrets to transform your life, and to have something as simple as this be so effective and reliable is just people don't believe it unless they try it. And so I suppose the invitation is, if you didn't try it, is to try it and to work with it, and there's no money involved. This is something we can all do. It's a simple grounding exercise to bring us to the moment, and we can do it anywhere. It's a completely, we had our eyes closed, but it can be in a completely invisible practice. There's nothing stopping us from being present with our feet in the supermarket queue whilst we're driving, bringing us back to this, this moment and taking us away from the noise of the mind.
Absolutely. I would even suggest that people who are viewing this live stream should go back and review it, just to sort of get used to how you can manifest your own grounding practice without having any of us close to you even, but to always bring your attention down to your feet. That was lovely practice, Lauren. Indeed. Thank you.
Yeah, not try to continue off the topic again, but yeah, you mentioned the mantra or believe it or not. I think even as a mindfulness teacher, it was a process also. It's not something that the more you believe, then there is, because there is. It is there. If you are fortunate, say fortunate to, at least you can start with not believe it totally, but curious, give it a try, and keep improving. That's also, I think, we've tried this body scan for, I guess, for many years, right? That's when they just now we felt the soul, and everything else and settled down with that too. But anyways, hard to describe, but give it a try. That's my suggestion.
And I think this is a great topic for our next meeting.
Grounding.
Why is it such a simple practice? Yes, yet so effective.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, well, there you go. Minuted. So back to today then. So relationships and the mindful magic wand for relationships. So as I said before, last time we discussed whether mindfulness was a magic wand for all our problems in life. And I think the balance of the opinion was that, yeah, it kind of is, that it does a lot of really good, really solid things to give us a platform to move from. But there was some really interesting nuance there and some interesting discussion. So it's worth going back and checking last week's stream if you haven't already, and some of the clips that we'll put up of that as well to make it a bit more bite-sized. But today we're going to focus specifically on relationships. And, and again, is mindfulness a magic wand for our relationships? So I suppose I had some preamble at the start and kind of let slip my bias on this. So I don't know, Oliver or Avanti, whether one of you would like to take the lead on the kicking off the conversation from your perspective on mindfulness in relationships. Does it work? Can it work? If so, how?
Avanti, you want to go ahead like last time?
Yes, absolutely. I have some ideas for sure. I think what I believe that mindfulness can bring to all our relationships is, and this was an interesting story. When I started doing mindfulness up in 2011, that was when I was still learning how this tool works. And what caught me was one practice I was brought into where the teacher said, okay, now start to imagine this person in a light that you love, or in a light that is compassionate and warm, and that this person may be somebody you don't have a very easy relationship with, but is still someone you want to send positivity and compassion and love to. I found that practice so tough at that time because it was impossible for me to see this person in any other light than that of this difficult relationship that we were in. But that was probably the first time that I sort of became open to the fact that he or she doesn't have to be my friend, but I still wish well for them. What that did was it opened the door for me to say that all of us, humanity, are connected inextricably in a way that sort of softens our connection, brings us together anyway. How much we associate with them or not is something that is different. But to give each person a basic dignified respect of trust, of warmth and compassion is the least we can do to make our relationships conscious. So to do no harm, if I could use that term, but to be able to offer support and presence and civility to another person, I think is a bedrock of any relationship. Those are my first few thoughts on this.
Thank you, Avanti. Yes, great story. And relationship. I think in English here we're maybe more at American English, relationship more than in between a couple, two people, family. In Chinese, it's a big word. It's called 关系. Avanti, you may be aware of that. And it's a big subject. I think even like some universities like Harvard, maybe management school, put that into a curriculum, the 关系. The reason I mention this, it could be much more broader than sometimes the relationship we're talking about, right? In between two people. One other day I was giving a talk, and actually it was, again, spontaneously came up to me, why mindfulness? Some people thinking doing mindfulness is waste of time, because in today's world, we look at for gain and immediate gain, right? We put some money in the stock exchange, we expect we be Warren Buffett next day, overnight. And that's why they're thinking, hey, you're sitting here with your eyes closed, you're doing nothing, right? And then, does this really help at all? And then it came to me this, I wanted a different culture. We use the same proverb that your personality decides your like destination or destiny, right? Yes. Your destiny, your fate depends on your personality. And then when we look at what is personality, there may be different kind of explanations. For example, there are genetic, right? It's genetically. And then of course, when we ask the question, why genetically or how genetically that work, it doesn't give you the answer. It just gives you the a genetic term. But I think mindfulness played a big role for me when you just are able to watch how your mind process information or accumulate, like store all these emotions, right? You put that into slow motion, and then you notice things are going on, not at your thought, right? Like unconsciously, those kind of dream walk, or I think in mindfulness, we often use the autopilot, right? You're in autopilot mode. So those slow motions. If we rewind a little bit for one's life or career, I'd say for many people, if not all, would be much more successful. Even if we agree, right, on the gain, we like success in social status, in money. That's all, no problem. That's all good. Even you look at that way, right? Not to mention some kind of deeper spiritual purpose. You'll be much more successful if you don't, if you have not had pissed off some of the key people in your life or career, right? Why you have pissed it off, right? Personally, honestly, I've done that a lot. I'm speaking from my own, right? And then mindfulness could help you recognize that moment you are about to piss off those important people that could help you in your life and in your career. You'd definitely be much, much more successful, right? And then back to mindfulness is helpful, and then back to it's simple but not easy, right? Remember the soul versus you'll be able to settle everything down, all the mind and emotion down. It takes practice. that means when you sit here, close your eyes, looks like doing nothing, you are accomplishing a lot or preparing for some great course, great career. Right? That makes sense. The whole chain, huh? From your personality, your faith, your destiny, to if that's wasting time or not, to relationship, right? This is maybe a little off on the relationship, but relationship is not only that moment you are in front of that person or that group of people.
Yeah.
It's all the preparations inside,
In you, no?
outside, right? Yeah, that's one thing I want to bring up. Relationship.
Very interesting. Yeah. Mm.
That wasn't one thing, Oliver. There was plenty there. That was a lot, guys. That was a lot. Yeah, I like that. I like the and I think the truth of the fact that the relationship is not just the present moment that we're having with someone. It's the history that we carry before, and it's the future that we create in that relationship. So we're laying the foundations for the next encounter, aren't we? With every encounter, and you know, if you piss them off in the first encounter, then it's going to make the next encounter difficult, and if you perpetuate that cycle, it's going to get progressively worse. So yeah, that's really interesting. And I mean, Vanti, you were talking about, I mean, it kind of resonated with me from a sort of perspective of a meta, isn't it? Is that kind of encapsulating someone as a human who is, you know, has need for care and love just like the rest of us. And I think it's super important in our relationship engagements with people that we all want to be safe and we all want to be loved. Those are kind of two fundamental things for all of us. Now, no matter what behaviors we appear to be manifesting in the moment, right? The human desire is to feel safe and loved. And a lot of us don't know how to express that very well. And you kind of see that in children, and particularly children who've gone through traumatic experiences. But actually, there's a lot of us that can't regulate our emotions as well as we might as adults. And we find ourselves perpetually in the cycle of our unconscious emotional and lived experience of our past. And because it's unconscious, oftentimes we don't know why we're reacting in a certain way, but we blame it on the person in front of us, whether that's a professional colleague or whether it's a personal relationship, because there's no logical reason that we can discern, that we can determine as to why we feel this way. Someone has obviously made us angry. They have behaved inappropriately, and they may have behaved inappropriately. That's not to let everybody off the hook all the time, but actually a lot of our communication, a lot of our relationships is what we bring with us. And that's a crucial element that mindfulness helps bring. And Avanti, you talked about the compassion side, and Oliver, you talked about the creating, I think, the breathing space through the mindfulness, and that the examined life, to quote Sam Harris, is that sitting with yourself, with your emotions, doing that groundwork to enable you to recognize your own patterns and behaviors, your own, misgivings, your own assumptions, your own needs, your own fears, and giving you the opportunity to not carry them into the conversation that they don't need to be brought into. And it's so tragic to see, and this applies to my own life, as Oliver said. We all learned through this experience to a point, and my life is full of train wrecks of relationships, in a sense, where I haven't understood what's going on in my mind and haven't considered what's going on in someone else's, and you just fall immediately into sort of conflict or an inability to move forward, or just I don't like this person. we'll just walk away, and and sometimes that's fine, right? But actually a lot of times there's unbuilt bridges that could make our lives a lot easier, and the lives of each other a lot easier.
Yeah,
I'll pause for breath.
And that's I think it's beautifully said. I think it's a choice we make every time, Lauren, isn't it? that every interaction, and to your point, Oliver, I think it's every time we make we're making a choice if we want to build towards a relationship or build away from the relationship. And so I think that comes from this unconscious, our biases, our histories, and our backgrounds. And I think if we are able to just ground ourselves mindfully and, do this practice that you did, Lauren, in the beginning, to say, okay, what do I want to build on? Do I want to build towards a better relationship with this person in this interaction, or build away from it? I think that sort of awareness will help you make a choice more intentionally every single time.
I think, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. Because I think now ideas are popping, because I think what we are also doing and taking responsibility for, when we make a choice to build towards a relationship, then we are also taking the responsibility to create that space that allows the person's emotions to show up and for them to be themselves, and for us to be okay with that, to listen in. And so we take responsibility for holding that container, holding that space with them.
Yeah, and I think that intention is so important. I think that that's a really, really solid hook to hang on to, is that, that simple intention. What do I want from this relationship? Because most of us unconsciously go into, whether it's a work relationship or a personal relationship, this is how it's gonna be again. And we kind of we predict, because we're predicting engines. There's nothing unhuman about this, unnatural about this, but not necessarily helpful in each context. But we're predicting, our future experience, and often we're predicting it in a negative way because it's been challenging in the past for a variety of reasons. But if we can actually bring a fresh intention and actually think, what would I like to achieve from this relationship today? And then if you have the courage to invite the other person into that space with you and say, if you can say, I know that we've had challenges in the past, I'd like us to see if we can move forward and build some bridges. And something sometimes as simple as that can really help set the stage for invite the other person into that space, and they'll go, oh, actually this person is looking to try and change the dynamic, not just rehash the old patterns that we've done so many times before. Let's see what happens. It's easy to say, it's not easy to do.
Yeah, I guess I want to add something before that midterm meditation. I'm always thinking there should be maybe one more tenet, if there is not one yet. The spirit of mindfulness is to approach or confront. I know we mentioned to walk away. If we watch our mind closely, even when walking away, it's actually we're not. Something is stored there. We sowed a seed over there, right? Unless there's no more chance to come back to this person again, even if there's not, it's in the mind, right? When there's a chance, either it comes back, or even just without actually meeting this person again, just thinking of that in the mind, there is the emotion coming up, meaning the seed is there. That's why I think to confront or to approach, right? Watch closely with slow motion. Hey, I am sowing the seeds of avoiding, usually ties together with some kind of aversion, right? Aversion or even anger over there. So anyways, I think I just want to add that being mindful, or being very skillful in the mindfulness. If you have that real skills, have that kung fu or muscle, and you'll be able to actually digest, to just make it disappear, right? It's only our mind is accumulating all those negative emotions. This is what I want to add.
And that is so powerful, Oliver, because I know we're probably, in terms of time, needed to take a leave, but I think this is what, there's a lot of experts who've spoken about forgiveness and the science of forgiveness, where they say that the energy you release that is blocked inside you because you're holding something against another person is released when you forgive the other person. And you don't have to tell the other person that, yes, you're forgiven, or that, I am forgiven. It's about just saying, I let this energy go. And
you're saving yourself.
That's it. You're saving yourself from the toxicity. To say that I have nothing to hold against this person because they're on a different path. And I hear you. That's a really interesting point you make there. Yes.
Forgiveness should be another topic for a conversation, because yes, that is and it's so true, but it's so difficult to do. And there's plenty of things in my life that I'm still struggling to forgive. Which is, and I know it intellectually, and I know that it's no good, but it's the deep rooted sort of emotional barriers and protections and defenses and sense of identity that comes wrapped in that, your sense of justification or righteousness about your anger and all that sort of stuff. It's so difficult to let go of sometimes, but it is absolutely, it's about freeing yourself. It's not about the other person. It's about stopping you, drinking the poison yourself and expecting someone else to die. I think that's a Nelson Mandela quote. I think, and it's that's what revenge is, isn't it? And that sort of thing. So anyway, but yeah.
Minuted for
so we've got a couple of topics
for another discussion.
Go back and see the first one. Right. Okay. So we're already at the midpoint, or possibly slightly beyond the midpoint, but allowing for the preamble at the beginning. So Oliver, I think you were kindly going to lead us in a mid-time practice, or no, was it Avanti in the mid-time practice?
Avanti, yes. Yeah.
Avanti. Apologies, Oliver. I was put you on the spot. Avanti, would you take our mid-time practice? And Oliver, I will hand over to you at the end if we have time after the discussion.
Absolutely. Let's do this. I think we've spoken a lot about relationships, what we bring within ourselves, bringing ourselves to a position of relaxation, in a position that will support us for the next 5 to 6 minutes. In this short practice, as we bring our attention to the breath, as we close our eyes, sitting down, feeling our feet on the floor or crossed on the mat we're sitting at. Simply bringing all our attention to our breath. Observing the sensations that the breath brings to our abdomen, to our chest. And remaining tuned into this movement, so to say. For a bit longer. As we bring in, then in step 2, our attention to the sensations in our body, or emotions that we're feeling in this moment. And step 3, now bringing our attention to our entire body. As we scan from head to toe, and observing how our body is reacting in the present moment. Now bring our attention back to the room we're seated in, to the screen we're watching on, opening our eyes to come back to the present moment. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Avanti. Very nice.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, thank you for that. So we've covered quite a lot already, and there's some very interesting reflection points. And I think if we can take this sort of final part of the discussion to really focus on the application of mindfulness to this, because we've spoken, I'm making words up. Mindfully, you can do that. We have spoken conceptually about mindfulness and in relationships and the significance of it. But I think perhaps we can bring some very practical perspectives on how that can actually be applied and made material in our relationships. I think that would be a nice way to sort of bring this together, perhaps in a more tangible way for people. So, I mean, from my perspective, I think where mindfulness is a magic wand, but only in conjunction with other practices and other understandings and other introspection and reflection, is in creating the space to be able to articulate yourself in a manner that you can be heard. So in my personal experience, my experience with my clients, most of the most challenging relationships they have, be they personal relationships, be they professional relationships, or even the relationship with themselves, is the inability to articulate their position, what they want to express, without being overwhelmed by the emotion of the situation, and so that it's in a manner that could be understood and received and heard by the other party. So it's not just enough to speak your position even in a calm and composed way. You need to be able to, excuse me, clear your throat. You need to be able to manage your own emotional content, because a lot of the difficult relationships that we're trying to navigate have a huge weight of emotional content behind them, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed with emotion, be it anger or sadness. So we need to be able to manage and regulate our emotional content, which mindfulness is so powerful at helping. So that's mindfulness is really, 101 at helping us recognize those emotions and allowing them to be in a healthy way, not suppress them, not prevent them, not push them away, but actually create the space so that they can come out, so that you can understand what's going on. And then working on the skill, which isn't necessarily a mindful skill. This is where we need some supplementary skills to be able to articulate ourselves in a manner that we to allow us to express what's going on. And that's often very difficult because, again, from a conscious perspective, we have a very narrow bandwidth of understanding through language, and yet we're feeling these incredibly complex things, right? The massive amount of sensation and sensory data that's coming into us every second. 11 million bits of data coming in, 10 bits of data in consciousness being processed. It's amazing the stuff that's dumped. Trying to translate that within the barrier of language is actually really challenging, which is, I suspect, why we have so many relationship conflicts, why we don't all get along wonderfully well, like happy gummy bears or whatever. So, and then we need to articulate that in a manner that could be heard. And this is, we need someone who's willing to listen to us and then able to understand and translate into their universe what we're saying. So yeah, there you go. So mindfulness, really, in terms of the core part for mindfulness, I think in that equation is the helping us manage our emotions in the first place, to understand what's going on, to be able to do the work to understand and regulate our emotions and create the foundation that we could then stand a chance to explain them to someone else.
Wonderful.
Good, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Discuss.
Go ahead.
This time you go. I need 2 minutes to just think.
Okay, sure.
I've said a lot there. I apologize. I've been thinking about this for a while.
Great. Articulating, very, very important. So yeah, I know when we talk, sometimes we're not talking, because it's the emotions behind, we're expressing something else than the things we want to say. I also want to look at the non-articulating side. I wonder if this makes sense. Everyone's familiar with Forrest Gump, right? That movie when the troops are in Vietnam, and then it's their lieutenant, right, was training them. Was that order? Shut up, stay down. Well, meaning, I think in mindfulness, what I have received benefit a lot is the pause. And in a conversation, sometimes it's being able to keep silence, keep quiet, and then maybe just listen. Because in many times when someone wants to share with you, maybe automatically many people, I guess most people will feel that urge to offer an answer, offer a you need to talk, say something, but in many times just keep quiet and listen, or before you respond, and do that pause helps a lot, right? Lorraine was mentioning some practical. It did help me. Does it mean anything? Stephen, I guess it's the name of her husband, right? Damn, Stephen. I think it happened to me too, right? If you have somebody in mind that you have challenge on relationship, when something happens, you tend automatically blame that person, right? And it becomes a habit. You could see all those autopiloting things when talking, when thinking. So back to the some of these best practices that help me. Just pause, right, before you respond, or before even you think. Pause, slow motion, think what look at, be aware of what's going on. At least in my life, that helped a lot. Right? Sometimes I by just being mindful, being aware of what I'm thinking, or how my emotion is arising, and then I'll be able to just keep, listen, quiet. Actually, lots of conversations, you don't really have to say anything, but you already answered. You answered by your, being mindful, or being able for not to respond at least inappropriately. That's some kind of answer also. So no saying, it's saying, or no talking is talking. Okay.
Yeah. That is wonderful. And I completely agree. I think there are times in our relationships when we have to remain quiet, when we have to, and I think remain silent is one, but I think that is also a way that we are allowing the other person process their own emotions through saying what they mean. So I hear you completely. For me, I think I still believe in the fact that with mindfulness, it allows us to look at the three pillars of any relationship. One of it is myself, right? And what I bring to the table. The second is the other person and what he or she brings to the table. And the third is the relationship we have between us. Sometimes we need to make sacrifices. Sometimes we need to compromise for the sake of that relationship, knowing fully well that as humans, we are not perfect ourselves. Neither am I, nor is the other person. And I think the humility that that brings in through the lens of mindfulness allows us to put in more resources towards the relationship that we're creating. And I think that is where the space becomes clearer. We become more accepting and aware and present in the relationship. So for me, that is the lens of mindfulness that I enjoy bringing in today. Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah.
Oh.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, guys. So, I mean, are there any sort of final relationship, mindful relationship tidbits? And they don't need to be. Is there something that we haven't covered that anyone's, thinking, I really want to say that before we start winding up today's stream with a final practice? I think we've covered a lot.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm going to follow
Yeah.
all those
I think
tips.
I'm good also.
Yeah. Well, Oliver, I think you'll be pleased to know that I have found the Get Down, Shut Up clip from Forrest
Yeah.
Gump. So when I'm video editing this later tomorrow, I will see if I can insert that into the middle of your dialogue.
Nice.
So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if I can do it, if my editing skills are up to that, and if we don't get copyright strike as a result. But anyway, we'll see what happens. So in that case, Oliver, if you're happy to close us with a practice, that'd be fantastic.
Sure, thank you. How about let's try that? Okay, a combination of that 3 minutes or 3-step breathing space with some reflection. I love the way that Avanti has invented this reflection. It's important because sometimes in that state we tend to be more calm and be able to figure out things. Okay, and let's find a comfortable position. For me here, I'm sitting actually on a cushion. Feel free to either sit on a chair or maybe even lying down. Get as relaxed as possible. If you're sitting, keep the spine straight or lean forward a little bit away from back of the chair. That will be helpful. In most cases, these postures help with our mind also. Okay, let's start with feeling what is going on right now. Our body, thoughts, emotions, maybe any impulses. Okay, when you're ready, let's bring our awareness to our breath. You can choose your own anchor, either tip of the nose or nostrils, or maybe the chest, or many times our belly. Just focusing on the in and out of our breath, or maybe the rise and fall of the abdomen. If your mind wandering and then you notice that, congratulate yourself, because that is a success in meditation. Just gently bring the awareness back to the breath. Okay, when you're ready, let's open this awareness and noticing the whole body, the space our body is taking, or maybe even the things around us. With this open awareness, let's just check today's topic, relationship. You probably can bring, depending on how comfortable you are, some person that you had challenge with, challenging relationship. Try not to overwhelm yourself to bring the hardest one, but if you're comfortable, that's okay too. So watch our mind, what our mind is thinking. If you could do some slow motion when we are in front of this person, or simply when this person came to our mind. What our mind is thinking, how we are processing. Are we coming to or jump into some conclusions just baseless? Or things have a clear trace or clear logic? Is there anything that we just make conclusions too quickly? Okay, I hope this short reflection helps with, at least we can start to check the ways that we process the relationship, the emotions and thoughts in it. If you're comfortable, you can open your eyes if they're closed to end this short reflection / meditation.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Oliver. That's great.
Sure.
Thank you for bringing it to a close.
Lovely. Yes.
So, thank you, everybody, for taking part, Oliver and Avanti and me, and for watching. And if you've got any questions, comments about what we've talked about today, if there's what resonated for you, what's the thing that stood out most, or anything you don't agree with, please share it below. Like, subscribe, share the video, help us spread this work and connect with more people to help us become conscious together. You see what I did there? It was very clever. So I hope you all have a lovely week, and we will see you next time.
We'll see you next